Which prospects are making noise recently? Find out next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Saturday, June 29th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and 5 prospects on the verge. James Wood of the Nationals, Shane Baz of the Rays, Christian Scott of the Mets, Max Meyer of the Marlins, and Coby Mayo of the Orioles. I will point out, by the time you are listening to this, Christian Scott might have already been recalled by the Mets. I know that they are thinking about what they're going to do next. They have lots of games coming up, but just wanted to get that in there.
17 games in 17 days, and so they've talked about expanding to 6-man. There's a possibility they call up Jose Butto instead, but when they were both in the rotation earlier, Scott was the one who got to stick around, so I think he'll be coming back. They've been limiting his innings in recent starts at AAA, but he's continued to pitch well, and I think he was good enough during his prior call-up. Less dominant than we hoped for, but good enough that he's someone you'll want to have rostered if and when he does return. So that's why he's among the top stashes here. James Wood has looked good since returning from a hamstring strain. I think his call-up could come any day, and he's clearly the most exciting prospect who is on the verge. Shane Baz isn't up yet. I think because he still has some work to do on his curveball. I noticed he began mixing it in more in his latest start. Fastball and slider seem like they're up to speed coming back from Tommy John surgery, but the curveball may not be all the way there yet, which is why Shane Baz hasn't got the call yet. That's my theory anyway. And finally, Coby Mayo. I want to contrast him and Brooks Lee, who is one of my 5 prospects on the periphery, but really it's a case of where it was overflow from my 5 on the verge, because I would have liked to get both Coby Mayo and Brooks Lee in there. Brooks Lee being Twins shortstop prospect. They both are close enough that it could be any day. The reason why I'm giving Coby Mayo a slight edge here is because he, I think, would be more impactful for fantasy. He has big time power. He's looked great, only improved his numbers, hardly struck out at all since returning from a fractured rib, and strikeouts have been the biggest issue. And plus, the Orioles have a very clear need there. Obviously, they're trying to claim the top spot in the AL East. Very clear need there. Jorge Mateo was doing fine at second base, but they've shied away from him recently. Ramon Arias is no improvement. They really need infield help. It's not going to be Jackson Holiday. He's limited to DH now, coming back from an elbow injury. So I think Mayo's the one. And I think the power would play, particularly in that lineup. Brooks Lee's been super hot for the Twins at AAA, and he's been hitting plenty of home runs in his own right. But it is a hit over power profile. It is a lot of line drives, low strikeout rate, and that's harder. It's harder to predict how that's going to translate to the majors, at least the way offense works in the majors right now. And I'm not totally sure that I buy the power Brooks Lee has been contributing at AAA, because if you look at the exit velocity readings, the max, at least as of this recording, is only 104.9 at AAA. The average is only 86.9. That's comparable to Jeff McNeil. That's basically Jeff McNeil's average in max exit velocity, and nobody thinks of Jeff McNeil as a good source of power. I'm not saying Brooks Lee can't be better than Jeff McNeil power-wise, but I don't think he's going to be as regular a contributor of home runs as he appears to be at AAA right now. Plus, it's not clear that the Twins have an opening for him. Willie Castro is holding things down at second base. He could go to the outfield, but Trevor Larnach looks like he deserves more of a look there based on his underlying numbers, and I'm not sure the Twins are ready to turn the page on him yet.
At the time of recording this on Thursday night, Coby Mayo has 20 homers in 54 games played in the minors. Those numbers are just bonkers. So yeah, the power is absolutely legit. 5 prospects on the periphery: the aforementioned Brooks Lee of the Twins, Shea Whitcomb, a shortstop with the Astros, Charles McAdoo, a third baseman with the Pirates, Josue DePaula, an outfielder with the Dodgers, and Ian Seymour, a starting pitcher with the Rays.
Yeah. So let's talk about a couple of these guys. Let's do Shea Whitcomb at AAA. 25 years old for the Astros. He's always he had 35 homers and 20 steals last year. So we know that's a part of his game. He's doing Same thing power speed wise this year at AAA, but a much higher batting average because the plate discipline has improved dramatically. Strikeouts way down, chase rate way down. I think Shea Whitcomb has been written off as a prospect because of those plate discipline issues, but with the improvements he's made at AAA, I think Shea Whitcomb needs to be on our radar given the power speed production. Hopefully the big league team notices it soon. Charles McAdoo, I suggest you look into him. He was drafted in the 13th round last year, wasn't thought to be much of anything, but his numbers have been great. Optimal launch angle, good plate discipline. He's up to AA already for the Pirates. Charles McAdoo. And then finally, Ian Seymour. The sort of strange pitching prospect that the Rays always seem to come up with. It's a little reminiscent of Joe Ryan back when he was in the Rays system, except Seymour throws left-handed, a fastball that barely scrapes 90, but he hides it well. It's very deceptive. Tons of whiffs, elite control. He's got a sub-2 whip at AA. He's under-leveled at age 25, being at only AA, but Ian Seymour, I think, is approaching the point where we could see him in the big leagues soon.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Odyssey app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we will be back again next week. Bye-bye.